you're ready, you can go ahead and begin.
Hello, so for today I made you guys a basic chocolate vanilla cupcake. So cupcakes are amazing. They're a gift from God and they're like our favorite dessert, but like travel size to go. I love them. The reason why I chose this topic for you guys, why I think you guys need to know how to make cupcakes, is because it's a great skill just to know in general, and not just for teenagers. It can range from all ages, including adults. For example, it's a super easy, kind of easy dessert to make, and you can bring it in for bake sales, or a party, or even for speech class. And they're really convenient and travel size. Like, I'm not going to spill my cupcake unless I trip and fall. The reason why I personally chose this topic is because ever since I was a little kid, I used to watch Cupcake Wars and MasterChef Junior. Cupcake Wars, I found that more interesting than MasterChef because they could take something so simple and do so much out of it. Like, they would make sweet cupcakes, savory, both, like a nice goat cheese and like a caramelized fig. And I just thought that was so interesting that they could create something so simple and make it so much more. However, for today, I just made you guys a simple fudgy chocolate and vanilla frosting cupcake. I did not make the frosting. You can buy the frosting for $1 over at Dollar General or Scratchers. So, there's 3 easy steps. You can gather the ingredients, then you mix it and bake it, and then you decorate. So, for the first step, gathering the ingredients. It might not seem like an important step, but it really is, because you need to know how much you have and if you have everything, because it gets a little complicated if you start baking, don't have everything, and have to go run to the store, like I did. So, for the ingredients, I'm just going to read them out to you real quickly. We have 1 1/3 cup of flour, 3/4 cup of cocoa, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 cup of sugar, 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of milk, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 eggs. Now, some tips with ingredients is it's really easy to mix them up. And you really need to make sure that you don't mix up the baking powder and baking soda because they look so similar, but they can make a big difference on your cupcake. Also, don't mix up the sugar and salt. It might seem obvious, but it really isn't. When the time comes, they look so similar, and it makes such a big difference on your cupcake. So for the steps, always make sure you preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for these specific cupcakes. But you need to make sure you preheat the oven, because if you put the cupcakes in and the oven's not preheated, they don't cook fully or evenly, and then they just come out either soupy or like really burnt on the outside. Next step is you gotta get all the dry ingredients. Well, not all of them, excluding the sugar, and you're gonna sift it. Now, this isn't technically a sift, but it works. I'm just gonna kind of show you what you gotta do. This is my cocoa powder, and you're just gonna pour it in and shake it out, and make sure that there's no bumps in it, just like this. Now, the reason we do this is because when you mix together the flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt, there's usually chunks, and cocoa powder, there's usually chunks in it. So by sifting it out, you get rid of the chunks, so when you have the cupcake, you don't get like a nice bite of cocoa or baking powder or soda. Next step is we're gonna get the butter and the sugar, and you're gonna whisk it up and make it super fluffy, like so. I'm not gonna do it all the way because it kind of takes some time and a lot of effort, but you take the sugar and the butter and you just keep whisking it until it creates really smooth and really fluffy. Now, unfortunately, I totally skipped this step with the cupcakes, but the reason why this is important is it creates a light, fluffy texture, so your cupcakes taste really nice and airy. After that, you're going to slowly mix in the flour mixture into the butter and add milk, alternate the milk too. And then once that's all mixed together, you're going to add the vanilla. Now, the batter should be kind of like watery, not too much. We don't want it to be moldable like the brownie batter or cookie, but a little soupy. Once that's done, you place it into the cupcake liners and then place it into the oven. Cook for around 15 to 17 minutes. So I cook these ones for 16 because right in between. Then you take it out of the oven and let it cool. And then, of course, frost. Now, for decorating, I personally find this one of the most important steps because if your cupcakes don't look good, no one's going to want to eat them. For these, I did a really simple decorating. I'm going to show you this. I took a cupcake and a spoon. I took the back of the spoon, scooped up some frosting, and just spread it out like so. It's not the fanciest, but you can get the whole cupcake with not too much frosting, and it looks decent. Now frosting, there's so many different types you can do. You can go extravagant, like get a piping bag, do little flowers, or you can even just take a Ziploc bag, cut the corner, and pipe it. You can also decorate with multiple things like sprinkles, cookies, candies, etc. So, overall, I really think this is something kind of important that we all need to know because it's a skill that's really useful in our lives. Just to go over some of the steps to keep it in our mind, you mix the flour, sift it, beat up the butter and the sugar, combine them together, add the milk, add the vanilla, make sure it's stirred all the way through, put in the cupcake liners, and bake. So for my handouts, I just gave you two recipes actually. There's a vanilla cupcake from scratch, and then there's a vanilla pumpkin cupcake, but it's a box mix. So it kind of adds some variety. Like you don't necessarily just have to make it from scratch. You can get a box, add different layers and components to it. Anyway, I really hope you learned a lot from my speech, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause.